Wondering why you have consistently downplayed the severity of the pandemic. Back on February 25th, you said it's pretty close to airtight. February 28th, it's not going to sink the American economy. March 6th, let's not overreact. America should stay at work. And then just on June 12th, there is no emergency, there is no second wave. But since June 12th, 45,978 Americans have died from COVID.
Well, if I can answer those, on June 12th when I said that, but I also said it's not a second wave, it's part of the first wave. And that comes from our health scientists. So that's
well, you said it's not an emergency.
In February, late February, I didn't make a forecast. I didn't say it would. I said at that time, as a matter of fact, there were fewer than 20 cases. And a lot of people across the spectrum, doctors and others, who made the same case. There were even people who said it wouldn't be worse than an ordinary flu. My point then was there were fewer than 20 cases. Now, as those numbers deteriorated rapidly, I, of course, changed my mind in accordance with the facts. I was not making a forecast. I kind of resent your little nitpicking here because I don't know what that has to do with today's jobs numbers.
Larry.
But
I'm not nitpicking.
I'm more
I
than
think
happy
people
to
listen to you and the president.
I will defend my
They listen to you
statement.
and the president when you say things about the pandemic and the economy.
There were fewer than 20 cases. Poppy.
Well, on
That's
June
the
12th, there were a lot of
cases.
And you said it's not a second emergency. And even your friend Kevin Hassett said to me this week, we're looking at a second wave in certain places, and we should have some shutdowns.
This is Trump advisor Larry Kudlow finally getting called out for having been so glaringly wrong every step of the way with regard to the outbreak. Most notably, he said in late February, when there were only a few cases, that it was contained.
And Carl, regarding the containment issue, I will still argue to you that this is contained. But it can't be airtight. But we are, you look at the numbers here, and I know there are things in front of us. By itself, more testing is going to uncover more cases. But in a relative sense, relative to our population, relative to ordinary flus, I don't want to downgrade this thing. This can be a human tragedy for individuals who suffer or, Lord knows, who die. I've said that from day one, but I think it is relatively contained. Yes, I do. I'm going to stay with that view.
But when Poppy Harlow calls him out for getting it so wrong, he deflects the blame for this by suggesting that there were plenty of other people who were also wrong. But A, lumping yourself in with other people who were wrong doesn't absolve you, it just makes it look like you surround yourself with incompetent people. And B, the virus being contained wasn't some mainstream idea, it wasn't backed up by science, and the vast majority of experts contradicted it, meaning that people like Larry Kudlow had to go out of their way to adopt this theory, since it was against popular wisdom, meaning that he had to make an effort to be so wrong. But most importantly, let's not pretend that the actual reason that Kudlow was parading himself on national TV and saying that the virus was contained wasn't anything other than the fact that he was running cover for Trump. Period. Trump's entire position was that everything's fine and the virus is going to magically disappear. Experts disagreed with him, epidemiologists disagreed with him, public health officials disagreed with him, other countries disagreed with him, and the rising number of cases disagreed with him. But Trump was only concerned with insulating the stock market and the economy. And so Larry Kudlow just went out and did the same. This wasn't the result of coordination with experts, give me a break. He just heard Trump say jump, and he said how high. He was being a good little foot soldier for his boss, and any efforts to make us believe that this was the result of careful analysis are just straight gaslighting. Kudlow even says that he resents nitpicking, but this isn't nitpicking, it's being held accountable for life and death situations. This is a government official pretending that the pandemic sweeping across the country was contained when it wasn't. People look to the White House for guidance, and when the White House's position is that you don't need to take precautions, when you very clearly do need to take precautions, then that's not nitpicking, it's holding people accountable for their negligent behavior that so clearly led to the deaths of 160,000 Americans and counting. Could you imagine if Hillary Clinton told the Select Committee on Benghazi that she resents their nitpicking? Could you imagine what they would have said? And that would have been for 4 deaths. We've got 160,000. And Larry Kudlow resents being nitpicked at for the minor issue of, lulling Americans into a false sense of security over a virus that would eventually infect millions and millions of people and kill hundreds of thousands of our fellow citizens. Yeah, sorry for being so nitpicky, Larry. The fact is that while the virus was not the fault of this administration, what was their fault was a complete and total refusal to even acknowledge its existence once it got here. They're still walking around with such righteous indignation at China for not having taken steps to contain the virus immediately, and yet they're guilty of that exact same thing. Larry Kudlow is on record pretending that the virus that was exploding around the world was contained when nothing had been done. Even their precious travel ban still allowed 40,000 people to enter the country from China. They didn't bother to do any of the work, and yet still took a victory lap by sending people like Larry Kudlow onto national television to paint a rosy picture of everything and pretend that there was no need to panic. So every time they complain about the China virus, it should be just as quickly referred to as the Trump virus, since the White House is just as, if not more, responsible for the crisis we're mired in right now. So Larry Kudlow will continue to make predictions that are not only wrong, but cost us American lives. This administration will continue to prioritize optics over reality, and Trump will continue to put his re-election strategy over the health and safety of the American people. But we will continue to hold them accountable for all of that, no matter how much they whine about the nitpicking. And don't forget to listen to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I'll take a deep dive into the biggest issues of the week and interview major players in the world of politics, like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Beto O'Rourke, Eric Swalwell, Katie Porter, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.